All right. Welcome in, folks, to a episode of Mount Polumbus Speaks on a Tuesday evening here. Appreciate you guys joining me as always. A little bit cooler weather today, which is nice because we're supposed to have back-to-back. Is it 3 or 2? 100-degree days. So it's about to get freaking hot out there, and I hope you guys enjoyed your house being cool for the last time in the next 3 days when your AC is going to be running overtime. Today's episode is going to be a bit of a hodgepodge. A little bit late here talking about the U.S. Open, but I do want to talk about the U.S. Open because I think there's some interesting angles that are going to come out of that. You know, JJ Spawn wins the U.S. Open when all the big dogs are caving, I should say, under those extreme conditions, and those conditions were insane. What is the mindset of a professional athlete that allows you to overcome adversity? I've got some thoughts there. And I know we're a little bit delayed in talking about it, but that's all right. It's summertime, and sports are a little bit light right now. Denver Nuggets did make some news today. They announced that assistant GM Tommy Balcetis will not be back with the team. What does that mean? The NBA draft is only 7 days away, or is it 8 days? Next Wednesday. So we are right around the corner from the NBA draft, and technically speaking, the Nuggets have not announced the GM. I've got thoughts there. Is it Ben Tenzer's job? Probably. I'll tell you why I think it's going to be Ben Tenzer's job. And then the Avalanche have had a handful of players named to Olympic rosters, which is pretty cool. I'll tell you who those guys are going to be. And then I've got one quick thought on the Broncos before we're going to get out, and that's in regards to Cortland Sutton and what the Broncos need to do with him before training camp comes around, because he's going to want a new deal before training camp starts. And I do think the Broncos need to go ahead and give him that new deal. But before I get started, as always, need to take a second here to thank my title sponsor, Mount Polumbus Speaks, Safeway. Safeway's been my favorite local grocer serving Colorado families since 1926. From fresh produce to tender cuts of meat, Safeway offers local fruits and vegetables from Colorado farms, and they serve Colorado Proud Angus beef. Safeway proudly supports Colorado farms and local small businesses, from Olath corn and Rocky Ford melons to Palisade peaches. So know that when you support your local Safeway, you are supporting local businesses, and you can learn more at Safeway.com or shop in your local Safeway store today. Safeway, fresh foods, local flavors. Super grateful to Safeway, and I'm grateful to you guys that pay attention to Mount Polumbus Speaks so that I can have a title sponsor. If you've not subscribed to my podcast over on YouTube, why don't you take 3 seconds out of your day, hit that link on my bio on X or Twitter, and go over to YouTube and hit subscribe. It'll literally take you 3 seconds. That's where all of my content lives. And if you enjoy Mount Polumbus Speaks, you'll make sure you don't miss out on any of the fresh content that I put out. And just know you'd be doing me a solid as I'm trying to grow my YouTube audience over there. You'd really be doing me a favor as well if you would take 5 seconds out of your day and go over there and hit subscribe. Okay, I'm going to start with the U.S. Open. I don't know how many golf fans I've got that are watching this episode of Mount Polumbus Speaks, but I had a roller coaster of emotions as I was watching the U.S. Open this weekend. At first, on Thursday, Friday, as I'm watching the qualifiers and I'm seeing who's going to make the cut, who's not going to make the cut, I was enjoying watching Rory and the big dogs, and even Wyndham Clark, whom I love a lot. I know Wyndham barely, but I know Wyndham, and I root for Wyndham. But seeing these big dogs out there who were really just getting their asses kicked by Oakmont, it was almost comical, man. It felt like you were watching the best players in the world go out there and play putt-putt as they're trying to putt the ball up into the clown's mouth, and it spits it right back out at you. And it was comical. Like, seeing these guys look like real human beings. They look like such robots out there when they play 9 out of 10 tournaments. And the U.S. Open is always one of the most difficult majors that you're going to play in, because they grow that rough out like crazy no matter where they're playing. But Oakmont might just be the most difficult course in the world. and these guys got their freaking asses kicked. So it was comical the first couple days, and I enjoyed watching them look like human beings. But then Saturday came around, and I watched almost the entirety of that tournament. I love golf. I love the U.S. Open. And I watched almost the entirety of that tournament. Saturday, I had very little going on throughout the day, so I watched hours and hours of golf over the weekend. And I kind of had a roller coaster of emotions because at the beginning, it was like, haha, look at these guys, they suck. And then it was like, God, this course is just stupid. Like, seriously. These guys are getting punished for things they should not be getting punished for. They can't get out of the rough. They can't get out of the sand. The greens are absolutely ridiculous. You're just seeing it wasn't golf. That was the best way I could put it. It just did not feel like golf. And when the leader in the clubhouse was like +2 at one point, you're like, what are we watching? Nobody wants to watch a Stanley Cup Finals that is 0-0. And I might get my ass kicked on this take here. You guys might all ratio me on it because when I was talking about it on my show, everybody was killing me for my take on this. But look, it's just my opinion. I thought that course was stupid. I thought it was way too tough. And it's fun to watch underdogs succeed. And it was incredible to see J.J. Spawn finish that out the way that he did. Bogeyed 5 out of the first 6 holes on Sunday. Shot 40 on the front 9. And then just got an insane back 9. That was a totally redemptive ending to the tournament. But I did think to myself, this is insane. It's too much. They've crossed the line. This golf course is so punitive. We're not even getting to enjoy watching the best golfers in the world go play good golf. It's like you're watching a Stanley Cup final that was 0-0 in the third overtime. Like, okay, it's cool that you got to the overtime, and then the second overtime, and then the third overtime. But at some point, you want to see a goal scored, right? In America, we do like action, and there was just not good action going on in that tournament. But it was redemptive. And seeing J.J. Spawn go out there and find the mental fortitude to overcome a disastrous front 9, bogeying 5 of the first 6 holes, and then come back out there after that rain delay, that was cool. And I do think there are some life lessons in there sometimes that, sometimes when you're the best in the world, you just get so accustomed to success that when you do get hit with adversity, even the best of the best, the best players in the world, they can cater. And Scotty made a run at it at the end of that tournament, and I did think he was going to have a chance when it was all said and done. But there were really no big names at the top of the leaderboard when that tournament was all said and done because the big dogs couldn't handle the adversity of that course. It was almost like we don't want to be here. And I do think that can happen. So, it turned into an opportunity for J.J. Spawn and a handful of other really no-name players to go out there and make a name for themselves. I think people would be surprised. I think people think of J.J. Spawn as like a 150th ranked player in the world. I think he was ranked like 25 or 26 going into that tournament. So he was a damn good player, but just not a household name. And these guys that saw an opportunity seized the opportunity, whereas the guys that had already pinnacled, Rory had just won his Masters. He didn't want to be there. Wyndham Clark got his ass kicked. Matter of fact, he damaged the clubhouse when he got inside, which was sad to see. But you saw the best players in the world having mental breakdowns, whereas these up-and-comers, it was an opportunity. And it's tough when you're on top of the world to maintain that same competitive desire to want to be out there at all moments, even when things get tough. And it's cool because sometimes under the most difficult circumstances, it's the most unlikely candidates that come out on top. And seeing J.J. Spawn go out there, finish it off, the rain delay did him wonders. He said that. He admitted it. The rain delay did him serious wonders. Without it, he probably does not win the U.S. Open. He was able to take a mental break, bounce back from all those bogeys and the disastrous front nine, and go out there and seal the deal with, God, how long was that putt on number 18? He had in the final 3 holes, I think he drained 160 feet worth of putts. Really cool. Really, really cool. When it was all said and done, I enjoyed every second of it. Even though on Saturday I was bored to tears, Sunday came around and JJ made it worth watching every second of that tournament. I don't know about you guys, but when the rain delay happened, I got suckered into watching Olive Tiger, and I felt like I was watching that live for the first time. Anytime you get to watch Tiger Woods on TV, it's certainly thrilling. So anyways, those are my thoughts on the U.S. Open. I don't know how many golf fans I've got. I probably lost a bunch of you guys by now because I know many of you guys are not golf fans. I'm a huge golf fan, and it was fun to watch. So Nuggets did make some news today. They announced that assistant GM Tommy Balcetis will not be back with the team. He technically didn't get fired. His contract was not renewed. I've been in that situation before where my contract came to an end and my employer told me, hey, we're going to let you hit free agency. And I don't know about you, that feels like you got fired. So for all intents and purposes, I would say that Tommy Balcetis got fired today. What does this mean for the Nuggets? The NBA draft is in 6 or 7 days, and they have not announced a GM. It's got to be Ben Tenzer. The only thing that makes sense in my mind is that the Nuggets haven't made an announcement because they just know who it is. Because you're getting way too close to the NBA draft to not have hired a GM. Now, the Nuggets don't have any picks in this year's draft, so I guess maybe you don't need a GM this year. But if you're going to try to get some picks, you need to trade some players before the draft comes around. And if you're not going to try to trade players for picks, well, you try to make a blockbuster trade, go get Kevin Durant or something like that. Maybe try to give up Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, and Zeke Naji in a package deal to go get Kevin Durant. But the Nuggets got to be working all these angles right now, and they haven't announced the GM. So I really do think that Ben Tenzer is the guy. I think the Nuggets know who their GM is. They're just not in a rush to tell the world who their GM is. People keep talking about Bob Myers, waiting for the NBA draft to be over. I don't know why Bob Myers would need the NBA finals to be over. I don't know why Bob Myers would need the finals to be over. It's a TV job. Who gives a rat's ass? You want to go take a GM job? Take a GM job. But the Nuggets aren't going after Bob Myers. I would bet on it. I'm no longer a betting man, but if I was, I would bet on it that Ben Tenzer is going to be the GM of the Nuggets. And it sure feels to me like they are setting this thing up to run it back. In the big picture of, you made big changes. You fired Michael Malone, but you also promoted from within with David Adelman. So, if you're going to fire a coach, it was kind of like the least disruptive thing you could have possibly done because you promoted from within. You got rid of Calvin Booth, your old GM. And it sure feels to me, if I'm right, that they're going to announce that Ben Tenzer will be the GM, and I would imagine that announcement will come at some point before the draft. In the big picture, you did the least disruptive thing you could for your team because you're promoting a GM from within. So you promoted a head coach from within. You promoted a GM from within. Josh Kroenke has already gotten up there in front of the media and said that he feels like the starting five is capable of winning a championship. And do the math. They're getting ready to run this thing back. They are. And I don't know how you guys are going to feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that. Actually, I do know how I feel about that. I don't think it's a great idea. You watch this Pacers team, you watch this Oklahoma City team, and look, the starting five can beat the Pacers. The starting five could beat Oklahoma City, but the Denver Nuggets bench cannot beat those teams. And that's the difference. The Pacers and Oklahoma City have got two of the deepest benches in the NBA, and the Nuggets don't have that. So the idea of running it back doesn't feel super exciting to me. I think they got to get creative. They got to get some trades going here. They got to figure out how to get at least one draft pick out of this year's draft, which means you got to trade a player. The problem is, who do you trade and how do you trade him? How do you trade Michael Porter Jr.? How do you trade Jamal Murray with all the money that he's making? It feels like if the Nuggets are going to get involved in a trade, they're going to have to be the third team in a three-way trade, meaning they're not the featured part of the trade. They're just going to package some guys together because in the NBA, they got to balance the budgets with the trades. The salaries got to match up. And so that's why you see all these three-way trades in the NBA, whereas you don't see that in the NFL because teams are constantly trying to balance the salaries for the salary cap. And the Nuggets will be the third team in a three-way trade. I don't know what you're looking for. I don't. I know Kevin Durant wants to be traded, and I think that'd be pretty cool. Some people don't like the idea of adding an aging Kevin Durant to this team. I think it'd be awesome. If you could find a way to package Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., I'd do it in a heartbeat. I know that would be painful. I know those are two guys that we love. I know those are two guys that won a championship for the Nuggets. But running it back, to me, isn't going to get it done. Now, admittedly, trading those two guys for Kevin Durant doesn't do anything to solve your depth issues. And that's the biggest problem the Nuggets have got right now because the starting five is capable of beating anybody. The starting five, if they had the right support staff, they're capable of winning a championship. So maybe the Nuggets are saying, our bench is better than you think our bench is. We trust these younger players more than you trust our younger players. We think Strother's going to be a dude. We think Deron Holmes is going to be healthy. We think Deron Holmes is going to be a dude. We think Jalen Pickett's going to be a dude. And maybe their entire goal is just to develop the youth that's already on that team. And that's why it feels to me like they're going to run it back. So I don't think we're going to get any major trades. I think the Ben Tenzer move, if that is indeed who the GM is going to be, the David Adelman move, and then you combine that with the comments of Josh Kroenke about his starting five, and we are looking at a very similar roster next year to what we're looking at to what we looked at last year. So we'll see what happens, man. The NBA draft is just a week away here, and I would expect we will hear some news on the GM front relatively soon next week. I'd be very, very surprised if we didn't hear who the official GM is before the NBA draft. Avalanche had some news today as well, or the last couple days, I guess I should say. Olympic rosters are starting to get formed, and 4 players off of this Avalanche team looks like they're going to be playing in the Olympics. Nathan McKinnon will be playing in the Olympics. Cale Makar will be playing in the Olympics. And then the cool story is Gabe Landeskog will be playing for Team Sweden. So Sweden says, yeah, we've seen enough. Gabe Landeskog is healthy. And he's going to help us out. So Gabe Landeskog, the triumphant return. This is just another layer of that story. He's going to be playing in the Olympics for his home country, and that's pretty cool. I could see the argument from Avalanche perspective, like, hey, we don't want you playing in the Olympics because you are still coming off injury. It is still pretty fresh. Do we really need him out there playing significant minutes in non-NHL games? But I don't think hockey players could be told any different. I think it's just different. Hockey players really do care about their countries. They really do care about the pride. They really do care about the Olympics. And Gabe Landeskog will be playing for Sweden. So just accept it, whether you like it or not, whether you're afraid he's going to get hurt or not. Gabe Landeskog will be playing Olympic hockey. And then the other player for the Avalanche that will be playing in the Olympics is Marty Nachos. He'll be playing in the Olympics. So 4 players from the Avalanche. That's pretty cool, and goes to show you how talented this Avalanche team is. All right, last piece of news I want to talk about. I guess it's not news, but just storyline that I want to talk about before we get out of here tonight. Courtland Sutton is in need of a new contract. And last offseason, Courtland Sutton sat out OTAs and mini camps because he was trying to get a new contract. And just days before training camp, the Broncos and Courtland Sutton came to an agreement on a temporary solution. It was just a bridge. It was a 1-year bridge last year where they gave Courtland Sutton a little bit more money for 1 year to play. But Courtland Sutton's not going to be happy to play on that contract anymore, and he needs a new deal. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's that difficult of a deal to get done. Courtland Sutton's not going to be getting paid like a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. He's not going to be getting paid $35, $40 million like some guys are, and wide receiver money is insane. Courtland Sutton is probably a top 15 to top 20 wide receiver in the NFL. But to the Denver Broncos, he's more valuable than that. He's the number 1 wide receiver. God, why can't I talk? Number 1 wide receiver for the Broncos. So the importance to the Broncos relative to the amount of money he's going to make in comparison to his peers just does not seem like a big deal. I think Courtland Sutton would be happy to make $22 million a year, which is a whole lot of money. I get it. And Courtland Sutton is, I think, 30 years old. It might feel like a lot of money to pass out to a 30-year-old wide receiver, but it's really not. It's not your money, first off. It's not my money. It's the Walton Penner Group's money. And in comparison to what other wide receivers are making, it's actually peanuts. It's an easy deal to get done. Keep the dude happy. You need him. He's a whoopee for Bo Nix. You don't want Courtland Sutton going into training camp without a new deal, because that means Courtland Sutton probably will not report to training camp without a new deal. He did show up for organized team activities, but I do not think he'll show up to training camp without a new deal. Just get it done now. It doesn't feel like this is some groundbreaking contract that's going to require some holdout. Get it done. Keep your guy happy. He's our dude. He might not be a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL, but he's the number 1 wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, and the Broncos need him. All right, appreciate you guys watching. Mount Polumbus Speaks here. As always, thank you to Safeway, my title sponsor, and thank you to you guys that watch. If you've not subscribed to Mount Polumbus Speaks, please hit that link in my bio on X. Go on over to YouTube and hit subscribe. That's where all my content lives. I put out content that lives unique on that platform, so I don't always do it live here on Twitter. If you like Mount Polumbus Speaks, you won't miss any content if you go subscribe. And just know you'd be doing me a solid as I'm trying to grow my audience over there, and I'd be very grateful if you could do that favor